Confession and Sacraments. 𝐬𝐮𝐝 𝐀𝐨𝐿. Catholic confession. What sense does it really serve? I had the impression as a child that isn't an eyewash. People confess, feel relieved, and continue their lives of sin, absolution to continue with inhumanity, somewhat relieved. I always wonder what the point was if not a single person really changed. The children continued to be beaten and the animals in the stable continued to be led to the slaughter, sometimes even killed by their own hands with incredible brutality. After the confession, people lied, stole, or broke the marriage as before. Low instincts remained and were acted out until the next confession. I often thought, confess on Sunday, pray on Our Father as a penance, and be a monster the rest of the week, year after year until the end of the life. What a destructive model, and for what? Jesus. Confession was devised so that everything would be forgiven and nothing would be really needs to be made right. In a silent agreement with the priest, events that call for reparation and conversion are simply wiped away with a few prayers. Confession is an instrument of the Dark Lords to keep people in twilight. 𝐘𝐨𝐿. Yet, even the youngest are trained to do this in the church. I remember the first time I went to the confession as a 6-year-old preparing for the first communion. I simply invented sins so that the priest would be satisfied and not be annoyed. I then kept this for years. I couldn't do anything with the concept of sin. So I said things like, I didn't follow my mama, or I had lied when I hadn't. So I was made to really lie through confession. What a topsy-turvy world. Jesus. Being perverse is the deeper meaning of confession, and it is the illusion of being freed from sins without having the true insight or making amends. In addition, confession perpetuates the guilt concept so that people never get out the spiral of the guilt and sin. This type of forgiveness serves the sole purpose of allowing people to ease their consciousness for a while and then continue with their weakness. They remain the poor sinners that the church wants them to be. True forgiveness presupposes deep inner knowledge and subsequently brings about conversion in man. As long as a person repeats his sins or is even urged to do by confession, nothing can really change. 𝐘𝐨𝐿. Confession is a placebo, Jesus, an illusion that has nothing to do with the real freedom and genuine forgiveness. The sacraments. 𝐘𝐨𝐿. Another aspect in the church has been bothering me so for a long time. The sacraments. What do sacraments, of which confession or penance is one, really accomplish? What is really about baptism, Eucharist, First Communion, confirmation, the sacrament of matrimony, or the sacraments of death, also called anointing of the sick, Jesus? They are initiations that are supposed to bind you firmly to the material world. All these initiations have the sole purpose of closing your direct access to God and consolidating the power of the church in your life. Therefore, these rituals recur at all the major stages of a person's life. At the center is Eucharist. In the process, people are regularly reenacted for all people who do not participate in it. Baptism is refreshing through marriage or anointing of the sick and, as in the case of dying, reaffirmed beyond death. Every sacrament that follows baptism is a confirmation of the same. Sacraments have the power to close man's spiritual accesses, and they do it very effectively for most people. 𝐘𝐨𝐿. What are the consequences of the sacraments of the death? It seems to me that this is one special, Jesus. This is to keep the person bound to the church for a life after for the next life. The contract with the people is straightened beyond death by transferring it to another ethereal level, 𝐘𝐨𝐿. But what if a person realized after his death that everything was just focus pocus? Can't he then simply dissolve these contracts? Jesus, contracts must be dissolved on the level on which they are concluded. That requires, apart from exception, a new embodied in the context of the corresponding church. Then these agreements can be undone. What exceptions are being referred to here? Jesus, people who, on basis of their others, have fully consciously consented to a life in the context of the church. Those who are endowed with orders to loosen the ground from within cannot be harmed even by these initiations, since this person operates on a different spiritual mental level. From a certain point in becoming conscious, it doesn't matter what happens to you on a lower vibrational level. You can always brush it off after your journey and after you have completed your assignments. Consciousness makes all the difference. 𝐘𝐨𝐿. What's interesting to me is that there are many people who have a little or nothing to do with the church, yet they go get their sacraments. A church wedding or a church funeral is still the ultimate for many people. Baptism is also indispensable for many. Why? Jesus. Because the faith programs have been stored deeply in the cellular consciousness of people for the centuries and over many incarnations. To break this up and release it requires a certain awareness. Not taking the church seriously can be a first step, but this is too little for a detachment. Baptism, the sacrament of the matrimony and the last rites have such a significance because very great upheavals are always connected with these stations of life, the entry into life. The change in the family, situations or dying have a weight where the manipulated people believe they need assistance of the church. There is always to be seen under the aspect that church programming is taken from one life to next. If someone becomes aware of this encroachment, then he can begin to clean it up. Anything else is ineffective, and contracts that outlast times remain in place. 𝐘𝐨𝐿. After all, there is no need for a revolution on this issue. People can quietly say no thanks to the dubious blessing of the church. When I, as a budding theologian, realized that this organization was, I simply resigned. Later, I dissolved my vows, initiations, and contracts. Quietly, I was liberated. Well, priests and Catholic zealots threatened me with hell and eternal damnations. But you have to go through it, right? Jesus. Resistance is always possible and must only be met properly. However, who sees through something that has recognized it as true, he cannot be helped. This person feels every attack or resistance as confirmation of doing. The process in which more and more people quietly say goodbye to the Roman Church is expanding more and more. The days of this and similar institutions are numbered. It is possible that on a high vibrating earth, the spreaders can continue to exist before low vibration. I am with you. I remain with you. Because this time it's heaven on earth, so that the earth can become I am Jesus. Channeled by John J. Castle.